Joby Aviation, Joby Aviation. It is a buy up to $20. Let's speak about it. My name's Ian. I'm one of the Hostler Brothers. Do smash that like button as you get in here if you want daily videos on Joby Aviation. Do you know what? Smash that like button if you want any eVTOL videos. But yeah, Joby Aviation. Let's do a 30-second rundown first of all. For anyone that has not invested in Joby Aviation or just wants to learn a little bit more about this eVTOL industry. And then, yeah, Joby investors, we will get onto the good stuff. But yeah, guys, anyone that is just into eVTOLs, and when I talk about an eVTOL, I talk about an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. Air taxis, yes, we're talking about the cream of the crop today, Joby Aviation. So, what is Joby Aviation? It's headed by a guy called Joby FAA. It was founded around 2009. Look, they're pushing harder and harder every day. But look, vehicle S4. The S4 carries 4 passengers and a pilot. Look, we can see them traveling around 200 miles an hour, breaking down trips that would be a conventional taxi trip from 30 to 45 minutes all the way down to 10-15 minutes. Look, it can both take off and land vertically, but it can also do conventional takeoff and lands. We've been seeing them over the last few days, them conventional takeoff like a normal plane. But why is Joby the cream of the crop? Look, we've been talking a lot about Archer recently, but look, Joby has just been performing. Unlike the rest of the vehicles, Joby's S4 is demonstrating all capabilities, both vertically taking off and landing, flying around in horizontal flight. We're getting it to hover, doing many maneuvers. Look, Joby's pushing at that stage now where they're actually going out to the public. First of all, we have had them doing expeditions in the likes of Osaka. Osaka's based in Japan. Look, that Asian market is something they're really starting to push into now. We know both Archer and Joby are really pushing for the Asian market, and I really do believe it's all to do with EHang. So EHang, first of all, had a vehicle, the EHang 216. I'll show it there. It looks a bit like a drone. I don't know how bullish I am on this 2-seater. If one prop fails, I feel like this thing drops like a pebble. But recently they have brought out the VT35. Looks a little bit more like the Joby S4. But again, look, 2-seater has about, 400-mile range, about 950 maximum takeoff weight. And that's 950 kilograms. But look, still no competition for the likes of the S4. But EHang are pushing for that Asian market, and we do know they are developing larger and larger eVTOLs, both 4, 6, and 8-seater vehicles. So is it Joby's trying to get that market share? Look, what impressed me so much about that Osaka expedition, they didn't only demonstrate all capabilities of the S4, you also got to hear the sound. I'll see if I can get a video of the sound here. But speaking about that whole Osaka thing, it was the first time we've seen Joby's S4 get seen by the public from the interior. So look, first of all, I thought initially the S4 looked quite small inside. I'll bring up that picture there. Look, I'm 6'2", and I thought I was gutted because I was like, look, my legs would be squashed there. But then, recent picture came out. Look, I want to thank TB Travis. First of all, make sure to follow TB Travis. He's a must follow if you are in this Joby Aviation space. But yeah, this picture, the pilot seat is pushed forward into a full working position. So this is where we can see the legroom actually is built for someone 6'4" plus. We know Joe Ben himself is 6'4", so it did surprise me that it looked a little bit cramped first of all. So I need to hold my hands up. Not cramped at all. Yeah, we do have that Ohio facility. Now, I need to hold my hands up again. I didn't realize at full working capacity it'll be pushing out around 500 S4 a year. Look, at the moment, we're capable of developing 50 S4 per year, but we can expect that ramp up to push forward once we get to certification. Now, certification with the FAA is the only thing holding the whole eVTOL industry back. Joby Aviation, it must be nearly there at this stage. I think within the next 6 months we'll start seeing announcements coming through. look, once they get certification, they can go out to the public and actually deliver the air taxi service. Look, business turns into a completely different business once we're at certification. It goes from this race to certification, who has the better vehicle engineering wise, to look, it is an actual air taxi business. You are running a service. And that's where this is quite different to the likes of your car manufacturers. So these are not only producing it, but they also have a service from it. So they are partnered with the likes of Uber, and they have the Elevate OS, which was Uber Elevate, but they also will be listed on your conventional Uber app. And that way you'll be able to get your taxi ride straight to the Vertiport. And when I talk about Vertiport, that is more or less like your bus stop for your air taxis. How are these air taxis going to run? Well, they're going to run within air taxi corridors. So you can expect between 1,500 to 4,000 feet is your typical range. These aircraft are well able to go up to around 10,000 feet. So as we see the air taxi industry mature, we could see them air taxi corridors expand out. The vehicles are capable for this. Look, defensive-wise, they are partnered with the likes of L3Harris. L3Harris are well used to getting governmental contracts. So they have a really good ally on the side of the defensive part. They then have Toyota for their manufacturing capabilities. So they are heavily partnered with Toyota. Toyota are giving them mad amount of revenue through different tranches, through different milestones being met. Then that's where we're going to see the Toyota partnership come to fruition. So once we get certification from the FAA, that's where Toyota partnership does flick up in a switch. So Toyota will be helping them with the mass manufacture, and this is going to be the most important part of the business then at this stage. Look, I'd expect over the next 3 to 5 years this mass manufacturing race take place. So look, we can expect Archer Aviation to probably get certified around 2027. I wouldn't write them off. Yes, they're having problems with the vertically taking off and landing with a pilot on board, but I think you'd be stupid to completely write them off at this stage. Look, they have around $2 billion in cash, and they have quite a big backlog. It was around 6 billion, but they're pushing forward. They do have memorandums of understanding just within the last month with Japan Airlines and Korean Airlines, both for up to 500 million worth. So it's about $1 billion just in the last month. Yes, memorandum of understanding, but if they do achieve these milestones, I could see both Japan Airlines and Korean Airlines using them. But no, back to Joby Aviation. So then we had the expedition in Salinas. First time we actually seen the Midnight and the S4. So this is the Midnight, Archer Aviation's Midnight, exact same as the S4, 4 passengers with a pilot on board. Look, it's a bit of controversy at the moment, which is the better aircraft, the S4 and the Midnight. I'm invested in both, but look, I have to hold my hands up. At this stage, the S4 is leaps and bounds above the Midnight. It can actually do what it says it will do on the tin. But yes, Salinas, we did see more demonstrations. We've seen the vertical takeoff and landing. We've seen the rotations around the crowd. We've seen the hover maneuvers. And again, the public were able to get inside the S4, something that Archer failed to do. They failed to deliver a Midnight to Salinas Airshow and show the public what the Midnight does look inside. And is that because they're constantly changing their aircraft? They don't know what the final Midnight will look inside? I don't know, but it's a Joby Aviation video. We then had them at the Austin, Texas F1 Grand Prix. Again, this is getting exposure on the world level. F1 fans come from all over the world. Look, I was recently at Monza in Italy at the F1. So, look, I'm Irish and I went to Italy. So you have F1 fans coming from all around the world, and they're getting in touch with the S4. Now, what I was quite impressed, again, Let's Talk Joby, TB Travis, did come out and say, why are you seeing all these public stunts by Joby Aviation. Is it a little bit early? And he said beautifully, it's not early at all. At this stage, they're showing that they can safely do all these maneuvers around a mass public space. They're hitting all regulations at this stage. They're so close to certification. It's never too early. You're getting the public excited. Look, after the Osaka expedition, they did put in for their type certification in Japan. We could probably expect them even flying around Tokyo on a public presence by 2026. Next year is the year for Joby Aviation. They've proved it all this year. Next year, I feel like everything's come to fruition. The only thing we have to watch out for is that mass manufacturing. Look, Ohio facility, 500 S4 coming out. Do you know what? At this stage, once they're getting revenue generating, and they are revenue generating at this stage, I forgot about that. They had the Blade acquisition. So they took Blade's air taxi business and it's now fully amalgamated in with Joby. So Blade, again, was an air mobility service with helicopters, and they're now fully running under Joby Aviation. But as Joby Aviation pushes out, you'll see these helicopters replaced with the S4. Joby Aviation hitting everything at the moment. Do smash that subscribe button to get daily videos on them. But do you know what? $20 is my buy range, right up until $20. We're not at that yet, but at this stage, everything is just going right. It feels like Joby Aviation can't do anything wrong at the moment. So yeah, for me, up to $20. This industry is going to be $1 trillion industry, if not more, especially they're entering that defensive space. Then we're starting to see more and more. We see Horizon Aircraft, we see Archer Aviation pushing into that Medivac. Look, 65% of helicopters are used for point-to-point movement. So if you can push into that space, especially in that Medivac, Joby Aviation just are going to eat up that market share. Let me know, are you buying more Joby Aviation at this range? And also, I'm doing video requests, so jump into the comments, let me know what you want the next video on. And it's all for free. So, right, my name's Liam, one of the Hustle Brothers. Want to see more on the whole eVTOL industry? Smash that video next.